to look at society and look at it slightly more in depth, you have a lot of surface problems, but there are problems that not a lot of people see, either because the problems are not discussed, they're taboo, or there's simply a lack of awareness. And the problem we found actually ticked all the boxes for that. You had people who still thought that this problem should not be discussed at all, that it was something that just occurs in life and therefore should be handled in a casual way, whereas we thought it was a more serious problem. And the problem, of course, was the safe and sanitary disposal of sanitary napkins or menstrual pads. What we found was that a lot of people knew that, sure, they were infectious, but they had no idea how further along the problem went. Our focus in this, of course, was that plastic would last a long time in the environment, the plastic in the menstrual pads. But at the same time, you have the blood that's in the menstrual pads, and blood is a rich source of food for any and all bacteria. So even if it was safely disposed from the home, it could still cause a lot of problems down the line. And we believe that menstrual hygiene is, you should focus on all the aspects from the start to the end, from the time it's used, the pad is used, to the time it actually degrades, which takes 700 years more or less down the line, according to our calculations. So our focus, of course, was degrading the plastic, as I mentioned, but also how much of an environmental effect that blood had on its surroundings. So even in the dump, a regular pad could grow and become, grows in the bacteria, and it could grow and become a hazard, a biohazard, literally, to everyone around it. So to that end, we had a few conversations. So as you mentioned earlier, the stakeholders in this issue, we talked to people in a society, we talked to regular garbage disposal workers, and we talked to a few of the ladies who clean our college. And in every talk, we found something that disturbed us deeply. We had garbage collectors who didn't get gloves, didn't get safe ways to handle that dangerous waste. You had the ladies who cleaned our college who were not sure of how to safely dispose of these pads. And all of these essentially led us to selecting this issue as our focus, and we generated PRED to basically, the PRED is the name of the bacteria that we developed to break down the plastic, and at the same time make sure that the entire pad as a whole does not become a biohazard at the end. My teammates will explain further on how we thought and what other alternatives we came across when we were doing this quest of ours.
Hello everyone, and I would like to explain you about the 4 topics that were related to disposal of menstrual pads. So the common way of disposing menstrual pads is either you wrap it up in paper and put it in a plastic and then throw it away, or you just wrap it in paper or just put it in a dustbin. But and this garbage is again, kept in your dry waste, which goes to your dump yards or incinerations basically. So in dump yards, you're either going to keep it as a landfill, all garbage on top of one another, or you're going to dig a hole and put the entire garbage in it. So either way, again, it becomes a biohazard for the air bacteria to grow on the pad, and if you dump it, I mean, if you dig a hole and put all the garbage in it, so it's going to just seep into your water system and your soil system, and it's going to enter your food chains in some way or another. And also, as my teammate Onkar said about the workers, which was a very, it was very, we were very deeply concerned about the health issues related to the workers of these garbage dumps. They weren't given proper sanitation rules or how to handle this waste basically. So they had to for every plastic bag that has been dumped in garbage, these workers have to open the plastic bag or open the wrapped up garbage and check what is inside. Now, for one of us, each one of us do not like to open the garbage and check what is inside. The workers have to do that all the time. And like imagine when you open a wrapped paper or you open a wrapped uh, plastic bag and you see a pad filled with blood. So there is no dignity in that for the labor. Like, and they had to go through all of this via without any gloves. So there is this one campaign called Red Dot campaign. So we spoke to the one of the team members of Red Dot who told us the various actions they are taking against taking taking for this to increase the dignity of labor. Like they have to go through. So they said that they came up with this, that when we wrap up our when we wrap up our sanitary napkins, we should put a red dot on the plastic bag or the paper so the workers know what it means. They know it means it has menstrual pads in it, and so they have to keep it in a separate dump, or they don't have to open and check what is there inside. So I'm gonna ask Ashima to explain more further.
Ashima, you're muted.
I'm so sorry. So the entire yeah, yeah. So the entire idea of how PE Red came along was that we had to include some sort of generic component of what IGN asked us to do, also solve a local problem at the same time. So having such a huge problem in front of us, we started to do a lot of scientific research around what are the current ways in which this kind of garbage is disposed, and what are the current ways, and what exactly is the component that goes into making of a sanitary pad. So if you see, a typical sanitary pad consists of a top layer, a bottom layer. So both of these are made up of polyethylene or
I think she got disconnected. I think it was an internet issue. She's right here.
Yeah, I believe she got disconnected.
yeah.
She's still showing up in
Yeah.
the.
Okay. So I'll continue talking. Another thing. Is it fine?
Yeah, better now.
Hello.
Yeah, better now.
Yeah, we can hear you.
So I'll continue. So the top layer includes the plastic components. Another really hazardous thing that we found was the absorbent component of the plastic. So most of the times people use something called a super absorbent polymer, which can be made up of various different kind of sodium or sodium polymers. So they have the capacity to absorb a lot of liquid, but at the same time they can be very detrimental to the environment. And the way most women the way most of the women throw this kind of waste, it goes into the pipelines, and the superabsorbent material tends to choke the pipelines. So considering all of these various elements that goes into making of a plastic pad, we decided we needed to first select what exact component we needed to handle. So for our project, at least, we decided to handle the plastic component of it. So I won't go into a lot of scientific details of it, but we ended up choosing
In,
I think
okay.
we've lost her again.
Yep. So Divya, do you want to take over and talk about the other alternatives that we looked at, and we can come back to the science later on.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so hi everyone. I am Divya Shetty, and iGEM actually is not just about the scientific part of this entire project. It was also about human practices and reaching out to the public, telling them about this issue as well. So I'll be speaking on that aspect of it. So in the beginning, while during the project, so there was this another NGO called the Project Amara, and they had hosted kind of a talk or a meeting kind of a thing where women can actually come, and they called it the safe space where everybody is comfortable to discuss about this issue and talk about it. So these people focus actually on talking about the alternatives of sanitary napkins and all the components that are there in each of these alternatives and why a particular product is a better option instead of a sanitary napkin. So, I mean, it's a group of 5 to 6 girls, and they go to different places, hold these sessions with a few ladies and stuff. And basically, their major aim is to create awareness of this issue. So, Anu and me had attended one of these talks, and we were pretty, I mean, we did a lot of research, but then to actually know that what kind of response is usually what how people or how women respond to certain products, I really did not realize, since we are from a scientific background, talking about menstruation or menstrual waste or the products which are related to it is not really a big deal for us. I mean, we talk about it like how we casually discuss something else. But then attending that particular talk made us realize how uncomfortable a few women feel to talk about something which is so normal, and how difficult it is to actually explain something like that to them, because they don't realize that it's a very common thing and there's nothing to be ashamed about, and their health is very, very important as well. So I'll just focus on a few points which the Project Amara had spoken about. So majorly they discussed about the different products which are used instead of which you can use instead of napkins, which are usually either tampons or cloth pads or menstrual cups. So while they were explaining about sanitary napkins as well as tampons, usually people have this, or women have this misconception that since a tampon is smaller in size, there are chances that the amount of waste that it generates is comparatively less as compared to a sanitary napkin, which is not true, because even you can actually say that a tampon is a compressed version of a sanitary napkin. So the amount of waste that is generated is almost the same, and the amount of chemicals that are used in both is equal. So it is very, very unhealthy, and it could cause a lot of issues, in the future. So the best options which I can use, which women can use, is menstrual cups and cloth pads, because they are healthy. And focusing on the scientific aspect, since that was our project, I'd say since they are reusable, it's a way more better option for health-wise also, of course, as well as the environment. So that's what we actually focused on. So yeah, that was it. Ashima, can you please continue?
Sorry. Coming back to the scientific aspect of what our project was about, since plastic was the component that we were choosing to fight against, we decided to include an enzyme in a general, to say, an enzyme called lactase. And this enzyme actually has the capacity to degrade polyethylene chains into smaller components. So this was the hero of our bacteria, to say the least. We also wanted to check what other components can be.
I think we lost her again.
we decided to include other components which might allow the bacteria to grow better, grow faster, like a biofilm, which is basically a scaffold for the bacteria to grow on faster. So that was also part of our product earlier, and then we also thought about making a enclosed reactor or a bioreactor to allow for the decomposition of the pads in a safe environment rather than outside in the dump as it is being currently. And a few of our other surveys and inquiries also led us to find out that, as Anu mentioned, though it's incinerated, not a lot of the PMC's incinerators in Pune are actually functional. So the pile of menstrual waste just keeps increasing and increasing and increasing. And a few surveys that we did also found out that though people know what menstrual health is as a vague general topic, not a lot of them know what it entails, what the details are, which is why Divya and Anu actually went in person to the Project Amara to find out what they do, what we can impart to others, and basically kind of learn from what they've been doing all this time. Our survey also found out that while this was an international survey, so since all the teams are around the world, we sent it to as many foreign countries as we could, and we found out that while some schools there have the concept of sex education, which is actually quite necessary, not a lot of schools or colleges in India even have the have the guts to broach that topic. So that's something that should definitely change. So yeah, that's more or less what the meeting is. If you have any questions, we'll be willing to answer them.
Sure. That was actually a pretty in-depth view of what you're are doing, and I feel not only from the aspect of keeping the environment safe or keeping the women's body, the women's health in mind, but also keeping the sanitation workers safety and their health in mind is, I think, a big deal. So I mean, hats off to you all for doing this. It's pretty amazing.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Also, genetic engineering surely sounds really, really interesting, but choosing a taboo subject such as menstruation and giving it exactly giving it a makeover with something like what do you say, environmental crisis. I think that was pretty unique. I don't think anybody could ever have linked something like plastic waste generation with menstruation, because from most of the societies that we come from, we realize that even though we come from very progressive urban societies, there is a lot of stigma surrounding this entire topic of menstruation. So how did you come to think of this idea in the first place?
We just really went through as many ideas as possible. Though I think this idea just stumbled upon to us very randomly when we were looking into the fact that there's a lot of plastic waste generated, but we still did not know what kind of plastic to target. Goes into single-use plastics. You might have heard about PET, like
Right.
the plastic bottles which are made out of it. A lot of scientists are working on the degradation of PET plastic, and a lot of strides are being made in that direction. But still, polyethylene and polypropylene plastics have not been dealt with that much. And since a lot of people were not aware of the fact that sanitary pads are heavily loaded with plastic, so it was not that intuitive to go in that direction and choose sanitary pads as one of the end products to work on.
Agreed. I
I
mean,
mean,
So I think we were
just adding on to what he said,
lucky enough
to
to
give you an
stumble.
idea of just to give you an idea of how much we had to look into it. Until we conducted our survey, we had a single source of facts and statistics, which was a newspaper article that had a small image of how much plastic waste is generated. That was the only facts we had to go off on, and a report by the Menstrual Health of India. That was it. There is not, people have not looked at the idea, they've overlooked it entirely. There was one newspaper article in the past decade. It was
right.
difficult.
it's
I mean,
like
it all looks so. It looks so happy, you know, the way they put it on advertisements. You know, it has an absorbent gel, and you know, it has this plastic, and it has flowers. You don't really see the other side of it. Yes,
that's
Divya.
right. I mean, it was very surprising when, when we were actually, so later on when we decide, okay, this is what we need to work on. And then when we were doing our research, most of the articles which were there online as well, I mean, they were, mm, I think 90% of them didn't even mention menstrual waste under the plastic waste category, which is very surprising. And I'm like, okay, I doubt anybody has an idea how much plastic actually it has and how long it takes, to actually degrade the entire thing. So it was very surprising to know half of them don't even have an idea, and the only source of information is not even providing that information. So
Right. And now that we think of it, it's not just the sanitary napkin itself, but also the casing, the covering it comes in. All of that contributes to a lot of plastic.
Absolutely.
correct.
Do we have any questions at the moment?
So there is one, So we were like before this, we were going through the Instagram page of your Instagram page, and well, Tuba and I were figuring out, what to do, what could we ask them, and all. We figured something that that every experiment that you all performed, it wasn't evident that it would go perfect. Or sometimes you all couldn't get the results that you all wanted. Sometimes you all couldn't meet the deadline. So how did you all cope with that?
I think
I
the
mean,
only way to cope is that we learned this. We learned it from like the beginning that most of your scientific experiments are not going to go as you think them they're going to go. Like there, you have a theoretical idea of how things might go, but then you actually perform experiment, and then you're like, oh wow, this did not go the way I expected this to. So we knew that we were going to fail in a lot of different aspects, so we did not really have our hopes high. But whatever we managed to achieve in 8 months of working, I think it was still commendable from a bunch of really clueless undergrads.
I would like
and
to add to that every time you have some new experiment and you have a theoretical analysis, keep that always in your mind that 20% of the time it's gonna fail.
That's
for sure.
very
That's
true.
a
That
great
is
way of
very
looking at it.
we have, I think I speak for everyone when I say that a major part of how we actually finished all of this was due to one of our mentors, Nana ma'am, and of course Madhura ma'am.
Yeah,
So I mean, obviously only those in MIT SBSR know, but our teachers actually played a huge role in keeping our morale up. I mean, these were people who worked alongside us in the lab the entire time. I mean, it was genuinely, they were what just kept driving us. I mean, we used to see them working in the lab and think that okay, fine, but a little sad. This is someone who's has way more years of experience than us, and yet is still not losing hope. So what's the point of us losing hope? Let's keep going. So just repetition was the name of the game.
Right, yeah. I mean, I saw that post about you guys. I think the caption was something like, when your 50th PCR run doesn't really give you
yeah.
the results you want. And honestly, it was a week later we did it, and I was like, you know what? I relate with you guys. You're doing a research project, we're doing something years of some, people have already done, and look at the results we're getting.
That's very true. PCR was a pain, but then I think the end result was, it's
Really
okay.
amazing.
I'm sure all science students on this call right now will agree with that. Also, I really agree with the fact that you're talking about you had only one dependent article as your sole source of information. And when I think of it, you see this entire use of sanitary napkins or any other menstruation cups or any other instruments, all of this is such a taboo topic, specifically in the rural areas of India. I just wanted to know your point of views as to whether anything could be done in the rural areas besides, just educating them or spreading awareness, because I still feel that no matter how much of awareness you try to spread, it is still very limited to the urban rural sides, or even if it's in the actual rural areas, it's probably for a day or two and then it's back to normal. So is there any things
Actually,
you have? Yeah.
Actually, when we visited the Project Amara, who would do work in this to spread awareness about the menstrual hygiene and tell the people about different instruments you can use for like menstruation, like cups or pads or tampons. So their main focus was rural area. Sorry. Yeah, so their main focus was rural area, and they said, which was like surprising, that rural area were more open to listen to this topic than the urban area.
Oh,
Like
Yeah.
rural
That's
area was like, yeah. So I mean, like you think if that this must be some stereotype that rural area may not be open, but it's more towards it is more open to understand female hygiene.
I see.
Especially females have been more involved in this particular program.
So the thing is, Project Amara, these people, the way they started talking about it is first making them feel really comfortable about the topic in general before they actually, bombard them with the facts. But then, so as soon as they started, and like Anu mentioned, that the women in the rural areas were more accepting when it came to a change in, the regular product that they've been using. But I think the major issue when it comes to rural areas and menstrual products is that menstrual cups and stuff could be a little expensive. And I
Yeah.
think that's the only issue, and not, not being comfortable. That is a secondary aspect when it comes to talking about menstrual hygiene. So, yeah, I think the cost is something that could be an issue when it comes to rural areas. But
Right.
apart from that, accepting the thing or whatever is a that comes later on.
Right. Yeah.
I'd like to
Educating
add
them is
one
the
more.
only way forward until you naturalize the fact that this is something that happens to women on a regular basis. There's really no way around it. I mean, you can enforce laws and whatever, but how difficult is it to actually go to villages, and it's a mindset change. That's the only solution out of this.
I 101% agree, Onkar. There's no way around periods. No way around it. Yes, Ashima.
I'd like to add something to Divya's point. What she said about menstrual cups is very right. It's about acceptance and stuff. But when we talk to the founder of the Red Campaign, his name is Mr. Satya Narayan, and he told us that the major monopoly that lies in sanitary products is of sanitary napkins. So even if you try
And I'm
to encourage
here
women
now.
not to use these pads because you know that they're harmful. I'm sorry. Hello.
I'm just going to say you mentioned Satya, and we have Satya on this call with us. We welcome Satya sir here. So since you're mentioning him, it will be really nice if Satya sir you could get on video and be a part of this conversation today as well. So thank you so much for being online with us. Please continue. I'm sorry I interrupted you, but because I heard his name, I just had to go ahead and say he's here with us today.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll just reiterate his word that major of the monopoly lies to sanitary pads, and even if we can encourage women to use menstrual cups or tampons, they might not be that open to the idea because the idea of using a sanitary pad itself is so taboo.
Right. Yeah.
And if you ask someone to switch to something else, it might they resistance. Also, a lot of resistance do come from these pad manufacturers because plastic in itself is such a cheap component to begin with. If you ask them to use something along the lines of maybe a more biodegradable material or something like bioplastics, or the added cost to them might not fit well with them. So that's one aspect to consider.
Right. So, I'll shift the question from the scientific side to sort of, a little generalized thing. I'd like to know your your views on how periods are perceived in the country, keeping in mind the rural areas. I'm not talking about the scientific side of it, but, just generally, what do you all feel how they are perceived?
So, having based on our interactions with the project Amara at least and the people there, I'm sure Anu can relate to this. It's that people are still woefully underprepared and ignorant about periods as a whole, the problems that women have to face when dealing with periods, and due to the lack of sex education in the country, there's not a lot of information out there for students, children, and teenagers to be able to go out and actually ask. Unless your parents are open enough to discuss that directly with you, your only other sources are Google, which is it lacks the depth and the human touch which you can get from your parents explaining it to you, or a qualified teacher explaining it to you and answering your doubts. So on that aspect, at least, I'd say that periods are something that have to be focused on, and currently they're being passed over, ignored, I suppose, because people are still not talking about it as much as they should be.
Right. Yeah.
That's very true. I mean, I am actually, I was a part of a girls' school. So around when I was in seventh, I think sixth or seventh standard, we used to have these people who used to come and talk about it. But when I used to come and discuss it with my other friends who belong to co-ed school, it was funny that the girls were made to sit for such sessions, and they were made to, they were explained about everything
Yeah.
and stuff. So I think it's not just women or girls who need to know about it. I think it's everyone who should know about it, so that this entire taboo topic which is there is not a taboo anymore. I mean, people should be comfortable talking about it. But then that starts when boys are explained about it at a very young age itself. It's not when you come to 11, 12, take biology as a subject and then
Right.
understand the
Yeah.
aspect. It's when you are taught right from the beginning exactly what this entire thing is and what this process.
Right, yeah, I totally relate with you, Divya, because I've studied in a girls' school all my life, and I remember the first time I got my period, it was on a field trip, which is so unfortunate, and nobody in my class even ended up telling me about it, and I told my mom 3 days later, only when she noticed, this everything red all over, basically. So I think it's the fact that education and awareness need not just be limited to the rural areas, but everywhere.
Correct.
And coming to that, I would really want Satya sir to speak about his Red Dot project, because this is something I have never heard of, and it's something new to me, and I think something that really, really should be welcomed and spoken about.
Yeah, sure.
Satya,
Uh,
hi, good
how
evening,
much
Satya.
time do I have? Good evening. Good evening to everybody.
Satya, we will be speaking on Monday again, but if you could just give these kids a small brief right now, then Monday we will be speaking in detail with Pari ma'am and everybody else. But right now, I think the team is mentioning you, so a little input from your end would be so nice.
Yeah, before I could describe what I'm going to talk tomorrow, probably the follow-up of what is being discussed now. Particularly in South India, whenever a girl reaches an adolescent age, the complete village is called in. Okay, and people get to know that this girl has attained age, and whomever wants to marry her can be a potential outlook. It's like almost like it's celebrated as a festival for a day. and particularly the men in their family are supposed to create a chapel kind of a enclave for the girl, which means the taboo is then and there broken as to why a man needs to know the importance of when a woman become adolescent. So this is one. And also I've heard there are certain areas in North India where this practice is there, which is inbuilt into the culture of knowing when adolescent girl reaches her age. Probably with our lifestyles being changed, nuclear family being kind of the norm, I think that has gone under the wraps. But as Indians, I was always proud about our culture and heritage in terms of dealing with women issues. It's just that we have lost our way in something else. So that's a short and sweet of what you guys were discussing. But now, moving on to what I'm going to discuss tomorrow is my main concentration is about how do I re-emphasize the red dot campaign. Let's say there are 10 issues to solve in the world, and to reach that it will take 50 years. What is that today that we can do that it's in our hands about what we call as a red dot campaign? Predominantly, this is a campaign. Yeah, so this is predominantly around the two places, which is one is Pune, another is Bangalore, where this campaign has been run, where the sanitary pads are wrapped in a newspaper or anything like that. A palm size red dot is put so that people can differentiate between the dry waste, wet waste, and the sanitary waste. And probably the sanitary waste is handled in the ways that the urban bodies can handle, either through an incinerator or through a separate dump yard for that. So that's what I'm going to talk about, but I'm not going to talk about from the menstrual hygiene per se of the women who is carrying, but when the sanitary pads leaves their house, it is going to be touched, it is going to be handled by Swachh workers. What is the dignity of labor associated with that? And the second one is that what kind of menstrual hygiene things that people who are receiving, trying to segregate it on behalf of you, go through. So every time you talk about hygiene awareness, after some point in time, I think one of the speaker here told, like, it becomes boring, right? People will say, hey, great, appreciate it. 2 days after that, they forget. And then what happens to the people who daily handle that waste is gone. So it was my, interest to connect the dignity of labor to the menstrual waste disposal through a project called Red Dot Campaign. This had a huge buy-in from the urban body, and many people in Pune have been working towards it. Particularly, I was connecting the dignity of labor. Like, for example, I'll quote my personal experience tomorrow also, is that my kids, both of my kids, I took them to the Hadapsar Pune garbage depot. And then while we were painting for the Red Dot campaign of how to wrap it and put a red dot, my first kid was kind of silent. My second kid said, like, I can't move that napkin out because it's ganda, right? So then I said, like, if a kid cannot touch it, right, for hygienic purpose, how can somebody else do that? So dignity of labor connects everybody. So that's when we try to proceed that from the angle of dignity of labor, where places where men cannot go and make awareness. I was able to go through 4,000 women and about 20 odd societies, 7 odd societies, and the rest are schools. So there are different ways to educate people on what is their value system, because it is like a taboo topic. But what else can you relate with that? Dignity of labor, everybody relates to it. So that's how that thing came into picture, and it's been continued. And we also escalated our fight to make sure the urban body has a separate box with a red dot in their garbage, or say the Ganta Gadi system that they have, so that people can need not have the taboo of segregating it. They can directly put it into those boxes. So I'm going to talk about those two things, and anything that questions come on the way. That would be my primary focus of discussion about what is menstrual hygiene waste when it leaves the house. what is Red Dot campaign, how it connects to the dignity of labor.
Right, sir. So I have a question at this point for you. Uh, so I really, I can't really just applaud and get things over, because what you're doing is extremely, extremely required, and I think none of us over here can thank you enough for it. So you're doing a great work. But I think I would like to know a lot more about challenges you might have faced on the way, because even though no matter how amazing a job this is, how amazing an initiative this is, uh, as you say, it was a taboo topic. I don't think it might have been something welcomed at first.
Yeah, there are different challenges that I had faced, particularly with schools. They said like, okay, sir, good that you are doing. Who is going to come and speak? Okay, to the principals, right? So I said like, I'm going to come and speak, and I need a translator for Marathi. I said like, no, can we involve some girls or something like that? And then even in their minds, it's kind of a taboo topic in the sense that a man is introducing a topic around the disposal. And I'm very clear when I'm speaking with these schools, like, I'm not a menstrual hygiene expert. I never can do justice talking about it, even if I can memorize all the points. I'm here to talk about dignity of labor when the sanitary waste leaves their home. And almost like every schools, I've been able to break that taboo. And in societies, I'm easily able to make through because I have a lot of contacts. So contacts believe me and trust me that I can do justice, and I'm easy cakewalk. But there are some little posh societies, right? They invite you, they applaud you, and all those things. But back to square one, the girls or the women used to ask me, Satya, you're a man, and you can't empathize with all the problems that women go through. How do you think we can go and scramble to find a sketch pen to put a red dot after we are trying to dispose the waste?
Right.
Okay. So immediately I cut it short, saying that, ma'am, I can find at any point in time, I open your wallet or your purse. There are two things I can find explicitly. Sorry for stereotyping. One is a mobile phone, another is a lipstick. Why don't you have one red lipstick for yourself and one red lipstick for the Red Dot campaign? And then men who come there laughs. Okay. I pick on the men and said, like, if your wives or your kids do not have a red lipstick, it's your opportunity to donate one. And then I pick on the girls and says, like, please give a red lipstick to your husbands and your brothers, because this Red Dot campaign is not related to only sanitary pads. It is related to diapers too.
Yes.
Okay. That way I said, like, if you guys want to seriously take it up, take a red lipstick and start a campaign with it. So most of the times, people believe me because I have 3 stories to tell out of my personal experience. When I was 12 years old, when I was married and in night shift, and the third one is the Hadapsar garbage depot experience. And people are able to connect that, I'm really fighting for the dignity of labor. I'm not here to give bhashan about the menstrual hygiene. Because when people think like, if you typically go to the deep pockets or the villages, I would tell you, they are highly, highly advanced than us in it's a old fact we know. Who are you educators? We have to keep ourselves calm, and for the purpose working and only way future. And there is a third
I think we have lost Sir there. At this point, do we have any questions coming in?
We'd like to open this session to the audience, because I don't want to keep this just strictly between the team and us. Otherwise, you all will get bored and you all will start leaving. So I'm going to request the audience, if you all have any questions to, you all can ask them.
Right. And sir's back, so you could continue from where you're left off.
Yeah, I'll not take more than 2 minutes. So there is another group which talks about the women have challenges during, because it's natural that comes out. Hey, you guys are talking about promoting your products one versus the others. Do you know what kind of challenges the women go through cramps, this, that, everything? Okay. And there was a separate project that we initiated where we talked to the companies to make women or adolescent girls work from home as an optional one. To that level also we have gone, and we have had challenges with various companies too, right? When you say, like, they look at the business angle. If a woman has to work in her period days at home trying to use a cloth pad, okay, people say is that no, we HR cannot be gender biased. But Pat came right now with COVID situation. I called up all those companies and said, is there a possibility they can still work from home? So they look at business angle, and even the companies are trying to only work on the fringes of what is menstruation, how we can help the girls. It is only on the fringes. All are lip talks, and some are out of fear because their brand image, how to handle and things like that. And finally, there is one more portion in the sanitation group, which is like 5 different groups. Okay, so in own minds, own societies, now talking about a larger population will views. The 5th one is all about allowing women to worship during her periods. So then there again we bring in clarity. I completely accept your point of views. Women are not impure, but there is a choice of whether you want to do a ritual or you want to worship. These are 2 different things. Worshipping, nobody can stop any woman whether she's under periods or not. Okay, rituals, there are some cultural angle to it. So these 5 different groups, even with the people who want to work for the menstrual hygiene causes, right, have been discussing this over the ages, and I'm still running that group. Time to time there are challenges, people one fight over the other, but I think most of them understand and trust, and we are able to get through. So these are the challenges on my side that I have faced, beyond the actual topic of menstrual hygiene, which a girl or a woman should know.
Right. So now it all looks interconnected in every way, and how one group or one group of individuals can go on to impact the other. And we really, really thank you for taking such a great initiative.
Tuba, I just wanted to say something.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
During our iGEM project, like I mentioned before, we had something called as human practices, and for that we had spoken to Satya sir about it, about this entire thing. And Satya sir, thank you so much once again. The way you guided us during that time, I mean, it helped us look at our project from a very different perspective. And I mean, before that, we didn't really focus on dignity of labor, but after you guided us about the entire thing and showed us or highlighted this particular aspect of our project, thank you once again.
So
welcome,
I'd like to
welcome. And
definitely, sir. So just we won the bronze medal there, and a few of the judges who judged our project actually said that our human practices were one of our very, very strong points. I mean, the project was great, but our human practices really took it to the next level because we'd taken into account a lot of the stakeholders, and it is in no small part due to the interaction we had with you actually, which actually led us to think about all these different avenues which we should think about, most importantly being dignity of labor. So thanks a lot, sir.
Thanks a lot. I have been a part and shared my experience, and congrats for all the way to bronze.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
I'd like to add in a few words. Satya sir, what you said in your campaign, the Red Dot campaign, is of course it's pretty important currently, for everything that's happening in the society. And just the other day, Sumira ma'am, she sent me a message saying that we need to, there's this movement called Red Dot Campaign, and it revolves around, about the menstrual hygiene and all. It's trying to, create awareness. And at that point in time, I honestly did not have any detailed idea of what exactly it is, apart from the fact that it's, for spreading awareness. And so of course, we encouraged our complete OTSA team to, go ahead and put up pictures with the red dot on their palm and, share it with the hashtags and everything. We wanted to create awareness. And currently, after hearing your detailed, explanation about this campaign, I feel we should do this more and more. And we're going to, of course, definitely try and spread it as much as we can to, eliminate eliminate periods as taboo, and we're going to keep it as normal as we can. So it's really commendable what movement you've been doing.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, so I think
so. Can
you again, Satya,
can I take? So can I take leave of you if you don't mind? Hello.
Yes, Satya. Thank you so much. This means a lot.
Thanks a lot. We will connect again on Monday.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Do we have questions right now?
Yes, so now we're opening this to the audience. If anyone has any questions, they can go ahead and ask them.
Right.
And no need to type them. Mic on करके पूछ दो.
We won't give scientific answers this late at night. Don't worry.
We keep it as basic and simple as possible.
Right, so team, I just have a quick question. Now that you've all found a common ground where MIT and MIT meet again, and of course now we have Satya also with us because we will be having him on Monday. What kind of coordination do you think with your team and our NGO, which do you see a common platform that we could work together?
I think there's definitely space for us to work together and collaborate. But due to the recent lockdown situation and the fact that Ashrama is in fact graduating from our college, the project itself has been put on a kind of standstill for currently time being at least, especially since some of the things that we need for our bacteria to work properly have not yet been delivered to the college. So we'd be up for an interaction anytime you'd like, but it's a little difficult given the current situation with our labs in the college at least.
Okay.
Besides most of your project related posts and everything on your Instagram page, what I personally looked forward to was all the fun you guys had. Would you guys really want to share about any fun experiences that you had throughout that time?
I think staying back for completing a particular experiment was a pain in the beginning, but later on somehow I think in the entire experience of our lab work, that is something I kind of miss, to be very honest, because it was fun. And I think the amount of frustration that all of us had when a particular experiment didn't work, and that anger, the frustration that all of us shared, I think those were like the funniest things, because instead of getting all like, oh shit, this isn't working, we used to end up laughing later on. I'm like, oh god, again it's not working, chalo fir se karte hain. So I think the attitude that we had later on was pretty cool, and I'm still surprised that all the ranting sessions that used to happen in the beginning turned out to be all funny, stories which you can actually share.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like a good thing.
I would like to add like all the ups and downs that we had, like
Yeah, go ahead,
I
Anu.
would, so I would like to add all the ups and downs that we had all along. Like thoda, it always happens. Like thoda jhagda ho gaya, thoda like yeah, okay. Then you just you know solve it, and then just makes your bond better. And I would like to say for every anyone who is interested in lab work or in science, your lab partner is the one true partner you can have.
Yeah,
Very true.
absolutely.
Very, very true.
And amidst
Yeah, I
all of this, how
think
did you keep track of lectures and assignments and regular coursework?
we did not really. We absolutely threw it out of the window. We requested our HOD to give us some relaxation with lectures and submissions, and she was kind enough to do that. But we did not focus on our. We kept everything bare minimum, enough to survive our midterms, enough to survive, whatever is going on, having like really basic idea of what's going on in classes. But then it all hit us once we came back from Boston. We had a lot of load, but I think it was
Yeah.
all worth it in the end.
Yes,
I
it was
think to
all worth
be
it.
honest, to be very, very honest, for this entire college work or whatever, we applied the engineer's formula, which is sub last moment here, but
Same.
here. So I think, yeah, we had to do it. It's not something that, we could just ignore.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe in the beginning, but the thing is, right from the beginning, we were mentally prepared that once this is over, that is something that we have to complete. So it wasn't really, like, अरे यार अब बैठ के पूरा complete करना पड़ेगा. We were mentally prepared. We have to study. We
That
have to
came
do
on
X,
the
Y, Z.
flight back from Boston, especially
Correct.
from her.
Correct. We
I
were
think
all
that's the
very
reason we didn't
depressed
want to come
on the
back.
flight to Boston.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been impossible to really keep track of it while you were still, working to the run up to the competition because, working like literally all your day in the labs. Because I remember we would get done with our practicals and you were there, and we would get done with our 4 hours and we would go, but you're still there. It would have been really, really hectic.
And it's
It
7
was.
p.m. and we're still there.
Oh my God.
Because
Yeah,
of our
we
failed
worked till
PCI.
7 p.m. Like, that was bare minimum of hours to work there. And I think this was such a good bonding exercise. Like, HRs usually have 1 to 2 days of bonding exercise. We had like an 8-month long bonding exercise.
That's true. That's
I
More questions
actually
coming in?
I had
Yeah.
a question. I don't remember which one of you asked what I was talking about. I think it was Divya. You were talking about how the menstrual cups and everything are expensive. So I mean,
Yeah.
shouldn't we create like sort of an awareness for local companies who create sanitary napkins to also sort of go and create tampons or menstrual cups that would be more affordable because in yesterday's we had a session yesterday with this one of her name is Tanisha Kale. So she was mentioning how usually she would go and buy a packet of sanitary napkins for around $300, and
Yeah.
when she purchased it from like a local company, it was around 100, which I mean is less than half the price. So I feel if we could do something, if of course there could be companies that would create local menstrual cups, tampons, it would be really good.
Yeah.
So,
So
to that question, I wanted to say that okay, so when you buy cups, it is like one-time investment, but they're expensive. So it's like an investment for what 7 to 8 years. But when you go to buy a pad, or so that costs like around 200 to 300. So if people are really not aware about this one-time investment and the usage of cups, so pad is much more easier to use a cup, and it to use a cup also it becomes you have to go into a different mindset to even start accepting using of cup. uh, so but anyway, about this expense, I would say that buying a pad for like couple of days is is supposedly thought by people to be cheaper, as you just pay 200 300 दो 3 4 दिन का काम है हो गया, instead of buying a cup which will cost like around 7 to 8 grand.
to add to what Anu said, the thing is, apart from the fact that people think that temporary investment is a lot more cheaper than long-term investment, which does not really strike them that menstrual cup is something which can be used in the long run. And apart from the fact that using a sanitary napkin is a lot more easier than using a cup, I think some of these sanitary napkin companies have a few selfish reasons when it comes to, actually producing menstrual cups and telling people to use that, because sanitary napkins is something that can give them a lot more business, since it is something that you have to keep buying, and menstrual cups is like a one-time thing. So
Right.
I feel personally that is something where the selfish reason comes into the picture, and that's the only reason why maybe the sanitary napkin companies or brands are not very open to the fact that okay, maybe we should consider this aspect. For them, it is more about business rather than
Right, and that's
creating.
what they exactly go on to exploit.
Correct.
Moreover, you
Correct.
can decorate a pad more than you can decorate a menstrual cup.
Very true.
Right.
Do we
Do
have
we
any
have
more?
any questions? All
I
right, I don't think we do.
All right. So I suppose we're ending now. In that case, Yajim team would like to thank you guys actually for have allowing us to have this interaction. We haven't had a lot of opportunity with the lockdown and all to actually go further with our interaction program regarding the issue of menstrual waste and plastic degradation. But thanks for this opportunity. I think all of us had a lot of fun revisiting the old days and remembering,
Yes.
remembering all the fun we had. So thank you for having us. It was a good session. I mean, and thank you for inviting Sir as well. I don't think we actually got a proper opportunity to thank him after
Yeah.
that. So coincidentally, we got the occasion thanks to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys, for holding on to that one sole article of yours, because that really went a long way. I mean, honestly, if it would have been me or anyone else, I would really just go for some other option. But thank you for holding on to that, having faith on one particular topic, no matter how taboo it was, and not just working or conducting research in that field, but also attending so many seminars, going out there with Project Amara, connecting with Sir. I think that really made you guys stand out. And I mean, come on, you guys are gold for us, be it a bronze.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tuba. Thank you so much.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, guys, for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. So I'm gonna sort of formally end this, otherwise, Sumira ma'am is going to scold me. So I'm like personally also I'm really grateful for each and every one of y'all who have joined from the iGEM team. Y'all, when Tuba first told us that we're going to have the iGEM team coming up, and they're going to be not only talking about just because she was telling me just we're bringing people up and we're talking about the same menstrual hygiene, menstrual this, menstrual that. Is becoming very stale. It's becoming very repetitive. People over time are not going to be. They're not going to watch it. They're not going to be interested because it's the same thing. And when she told me we're doing something different, when she told us that y'all are not only talking, you're not only going to talk about this, but talk about how there are going to be effective ways to dispose of sanitary napkins. And I was like, wow, okay, this is something new, and this is something I'm looking forward to. Because there's obviously it's lockdown here. I don't want my brain to go stale. Nobody wants their brains to go stale. Learning new things every day is an opportunity for everyone, and I'm sure I really thank all the audience members who have joined today for joining in. We've got over 23 people, which is I'm going to count like about 20 because excluding us. It's really big and it's a lot, and they've obviously learned a lot from you all. So really hats off for what you're doing, and all the best for all the future endeavors that you all have got.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Could we actually ask everyone here to open up their videos so we can take maybe a screenshot or something? Divya or Tuba, one of you can take the screenshot if possible.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Or everybody.
Yeah, definitely, if possible. I'm not sure how many of us can turn on our videos, but those who can, please do.
Right. Yeah. Please. Oh, come on.
Hey. Jasbir, at least you to open your camera.
Shubham's there, okay. Samira ma'am.
My camera is not working.
Hi, Rashi. Okay, what about everyone else?
Oh, hi, Nicola.
I guess that's all the faces we have.
How do we get them into a group? Can someone click a group picture?
No, invites are already being taken.
Wait, I'll take a screenshot of this one.
Victoria.
Okay, is everyone ready?
Countdown ready.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, smile. One more. Okay, done.
Okay, all right.
Right.
Thank you. Thanks
Thank
a lot,
you
guys.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye.